Korea's price pressures seem to be cooling down, with last month seeing on-year inflation dropping to 2.7%, falling into the 2% range for the first time in nearly 2 years. The International Atomic Energy Agency chief is set to deliver the final safety report on Fukushima wastewater, a move closely watched by the South Korean government, which has vowed to maintain a ban on Fukushima seafood until there's a public consensus. Nationwide rain is in forecast for South Korea, bringing some relief from the extreme heat wave. Good afternoon. Price pressures continue to cool down in South Korea. The country's inflation last month dropped to the milestone 2% range for the first time in nearly 2 years, largely driven by oil prices falling to a record low. Our Moon Hye-ryun has the details.
Inflation in South Korea continued to slow in June. Data from Statistics Korea show that the Consumer Price Index, a key gauge of inflation, rose by 2.7% compared to the same month last year. This is the first time that on-year hikes fell to the 2% range in 21 months. According to the Ministry of Economy and Finance, South Korea is one of only 3 countries in the G20 group of countries that recorded consumer price hikes in the 2% range. The increase in prices has shown a steady decline since January this year, when a 5.2% increase was recorded to the latest figure of 2.7 in the space of 5 months. The drop was largely attributed to falling prices for petroleum products, which fell by 25.4% in June, the largest on-year decline since data was first compiled in 1985. Oil prices have weakened due to global economic uncertainty, which prompted Saudi Arabia and Russia to announce extended oil production cuts on Monday to boost prices. While the prices of agricultural, fishery and livestock products rose 0.2% on year, the large drop in petroleum product prices tipped the scale. Excluding these volatile categories, core inflation was measured to have risen by 4.1%, marking the lowest on-year rise since May last year. Meanwhile, energy prices rose significantly. Electricity, gas, and water prices were up by nearly 26%. This is the third consecutive month that energy prices have seen hikes in the 20% range. The price of dining out also rose by over 6%. Consumer prices are expected to continue to be affected by higher energy prices over the coming months amid increased summer demand.
International prices of raw materials and exchange rates could contribute to a rise or drop in prices, depending on the economic situation at home, but rising public utility bills are likely to factor in a rise.
By region, the capital experienced the highest price increase on year at 3.4%. Moon Hye-ryun, Arirang News.
President Yoon has called for the government to quickly push through policies to improve people's livelihoods, including bills on housing, national finance, and Medicare. Presiding over an emergency economic meeting on Tuesday, the South Korean leader gathered his cabinet, including the new vice ministers appointed across 11 ministries, to discuss the administration's economic policy direction for the second half of this year. Yoon noted that in June, the government has brought down price levels to the 2% range and overcome the months-long trade deficit. However, going forward, Yoon said the second half of the year will be a critical inflection point, urging for related bills to be processed quickly to bring real improvements to people's livelihoods. Ahead of Japan's imminent release of wastewater from the destroyed Fukushima nuclear power plant, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency is set to arrive in Japan to deliver the agency's final report on the safety of the discharge procedures. Closely watching the developments is South Korea, as authorities here will also be meeting the IAEA chief later this week. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji has the details.
The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, will meet Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Tokyo on Tuesday to deliver the agency's comprehensive report on Tokyo's plan to release wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant into the ocean. After handing over the report, he will attend a news conference later in the day to explain the agency's safety assessment of the planned discharge. During his 4-day visit in Japan until Friday, he is also set to meet the Japanese Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi. He will also travel to the Fukushima Daiichi plant to inspect the site and visit an IAEA office there, which will newly open upon his visit. After wrapping up his trip to Japan, Grossi will also visit South Korea from Friday to Sunday to provide an explanation of the report to the Korean government. He will sit down for talks with the country's foreign minister, Park Jin, and the chairperson of the Nuclear Safety and Security Commission, Yoo Guk-hee. The IAEA is widely expected to give Japan the green light for the release, as it has been saying that the samples of the wastewater from the Fukushima plant meet requirements. In its previous 6 reports, the agency said it found the country's measurement of the treated water to be, quote, accurate and precise. After receiving the report, the Japanese government plans to announce the exact schedule for the release, a process that will be carried out over the next 3 to 4 decades. But South Korea will likely continue to ban imports of seafood from Fukushima until the South Korean public feels it is safe enough to consume. The country's ruling party and the opposition party on Monday discussed countermeasures and said that restrictions on seafood imports from the region will continue for an unspecified period of time until public consensus changes, even if the IAEA confirms the safety of the water. 배은지, Arirang News.
North Korea may be gearing up to return to the global sports scene, perhaps starting with the upcoming Asian Games in Hangzhou this September, followed by the Asian Para Games and next year's Paralympics. Such speculation comes as the North Central Committee of the Korean Federation for the Protection of the Disabled on Tuesday uploaded a post to its website saying the regime's disabled athletes are striving to raise the North Korean flag high up in the sky. According to the post, the athletes are determined that the world will see their flag and listen to their national anthem when victory is achieved. This comes as North Korea's foreign ministry last month hinted that the country will participate at the 2024 Paris Summer Olympics. Yet another round in the U.S.-China trade spat. This time, Beijing imposed export curbs on crucial raw materials essential for chip production in response to U.S. supply chain controls imposed on China, Lee Seung-jae reports.
In response to chip export restrictions imposed on China by the United States and Europe in the ongoing chip war, Beijing has now responded by imposing export controls on 2 rare elements essential for manufacturing semiconductors. According to the Chinese Ministry of Commerce on Monday, measures which will come into effect as of August 1st will see key raw materials, gallium and germanium, placed on China's export control list in order to protect national security and interests. The ministry says exporters who want to ship them out of the country must apply for special permission from the state. Both materials are used in a variety of products, including computer chips and solar panels. They are also included on the EU's list of critical raw materials deemed crucial to Europe's economy. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, China is by far the world's biggest producer of gallium, while the country is also the leading global producer and exporter of germanium. The latest announcement on the export curb comes just days before U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is set to visit Beijing for talks with Chinese officials for discussions on how to responsibly manage relations and communicate directly about areas of concern and work together to address global challenges. Yellen will be in Beijing from July 6th to the 9th, just weeks after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited the Chinese capital for talks with Foreign Minister Qin Gang last month. While Washington does not expect any major breakthrough from the visit, a second trip by a senior cabinet official to China this year shows a willingness to build communication channels between the superpowers. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The U.S. recommends Americans to reconsider traveling to China due to exit ban concerns. The U.S. advisory on Monday said Beijing arbitrarily enforces local laws, possibly resulting in U.S. citizens being detained without access to U.S. consular services or information about their alleged crimes. It follows Beijing's passage of a foreign relations law that threatens countermeasures against those deemed to be harming China's interests. Also, the country's newly amended anti-espionage law came into effect this month, allowing exit bans on people obtaining documents or items related to national security and interest, which could be a threat to journalists and businesses overseas. The U.S. has issued similar advisories for the semi-autonomous Chinese regions of Hong Kong and Macau. South Korea is expecting nationwide monsoon rain today with downpours to continue into early Wednesday morning. In the meantime, the country will have some relief from the extreme heat wave that led to another tropical night for the capital Seoul. Shin Se-byuk reports.
Seoul had its second tropical night of the year on Monday night. The sweltering overnight temperatures followed a daytime high in Seoul of 34.9 degrees Celsius for the hottest day of this summer so far. And even after the sunset, the heat persisted with the low in the capital hovering around 26 degrees. A tropical night occurs when temperatures stay a minimum of 25 degrees Celsius between 6 p.m. and 9 a.m.
I came out for a walk, but it's scorching hot out here. I'll just take a 30-minute stroll and head back in.
I don't think I can sleep well if there's no air conditioning today.
Meanwhile, the stationary front that pounded the southern region with rain all day yesterday is traveling northward. By tonight, the whole nation is expected to get soaked by monsoon rain, which is only expected to get heavier overnight. 30 to 60 millimeters of rain per hour is forecast for the central region and parts of Gyeongsangbuk-do and Jeollado provinces. Those in the western part of the country should brace for as much as 150 millimeters of heavy rain. Along with nationwide downpours, thunder, lightning, and gusts of wind are also in the forecast. Rain will continue until Wednesday afternoon before easing off, and there will be some relief from scorching conditions thanks to the nationwide rain. Daytime in Seoul will be 6 degrees lower than yesterday at 29 degrees, Jeju and Busan at 27 and 26 degrees respectively. But expect a heat wave to return across the country later this week, along with heavy downpours for Jeju on Friday and Saturday. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
Korean instant noodles were enjoyed overseas more than ever in the first half of this year, with the exports hitting record high figures. According to the Korea Agro Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation and the Korea Customs Service on Tuesday, ramen exports hit $446.2 million from January through June. This marks a 16.4% increase from the previous record from the same period last year. Watchers largely attribute the expansion of the instant food market to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as growing global interest in Korean content and products. A couple in South Korea recently became parents of quadruplets. The story sends out all the more meaningful message for the country as it is suffering from the world's lowest birth rate. Kim Jung-sil reports.
Meet Cha Ji-hye and Song Ri-won, who recently gave birth to Lizzie, Roxy, Vision, and Sherlock. 3 girls and 1 boy.
They told me it was twins at first. The next week, they said triplets. The week after that, they said quadruplets. I was very worried about whether my wife could deliver all those babies.
The birth of these babies made headlines across the country, prompting people to send gifts and support with no strings attached. But it wasn't until after giving birth that the mother of the 4 found out that she and her husband were not eligible to receive state benefits.
We were told we exceeded the income limit, so we weren't eligible to receive many of the benefits. And the ones we can receive, the amount was really small because every policy is centered around just 1 baby.
World-renowned demographics expert David Coleman said he's astounded by the policy.
People who have 4 babies at once deserve all the support and praise that a nation in search of a higher birth rate can possibly give them. And I'm surprised that the regulations don't permit some flexibility in that.
It wasn't just the reality of the policies that worried the mother.
These days, I'm most concerned about going back to work after maternity leave. I'm beginning to doubt whether I can survive when I return to work.
According to a recent report by Statistics Korea, South Korea recorded the lowest number of births in April since records started being kept in 1981. For the first time, less than 20,000 babies were born during the month. While many other factors still remain hampering the birth rate, including housing and education costs, experts said the status of women may be the key to solving this issue. This is because countries with high birth rates offer a considerable amount of state support that enables women to work and take care of children at the same time.
One of my wise colleagues is fond of saying that if you look after the interests of women, then population will look after itself.
He added that change can happen, but that it requires society to realize that it is necessary. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
The World Choir Games, the world's largest international choir competition, kicked off on Monday in South Korea's eastern coastal city of Gangneung. Under the theme of peace and prosperity for all, around 8,000 participants from 324 choirs representing over 30 countries will take part this year. The event, which was postponed for a year due to COVID-19, will run until July 13th. Often referred to as the Choir Olympics, the World Choir Games has been held every 2 years since its inauguration in 2000. This marks the second time for Korea to host the Games after the first one in Busan back in 2002. The Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival, one of Asia's largest genre film festivals, is in full swing. One of its main events is the program that highlights the career of an actor that represents Korean cinema. The star of this year's festival is actor Choi Min-sik, and our Lee Soo-jin sat down with him.
Choi Min-sik boasts a career that spans more than 3 decades. He has received worldwide acclaim for his roles in Old Boy and I Saw the Devil.
He feels more three-dimensional than anyone else. Even when he's on a two-dimensional screen, he has $1 million face.
That's how one of South Korea's most renowned directors, Park Chan-wook, describes actor Choi Min-sik, who he directed in the cult classic Old Boy. And this year, the Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival has selected Choi to be the subject of its special exhibition. One of the flagship programs of the film festival is this exhibition. It highlights the career of an actor that represents Korean cinema. The exhibition is titled I Saw Choi Min-sik, a nod to one of his most notable works, I Saw the Devil. We sat down with Choi to ask him what this honor means to him.
이거는 정말 저 개인적으로도 너무 큰 영광이고 너무 감사한 일이라고 생각을 합니다. 그리고 반면에 어떤 제가 출연했던 모든 작품들, 그 중에 이제 10편을 선정해서 단편 2편까지 선정해서 이렇게 다시 한번 관객 여러분들과 만나는 자리를 갖게 된다고 생각하니까 뭐라 그럴까? 제가 발가벗겨진 느낌이랄까요? 아까도 개막식 때 잠깐 말씀드렸지만 일기장을 꺼내서 보여드리는 것 같은 그런 느낌?
While the exhibition provided him with an opportunity to reflect on his career, he said that it's still difficult for him to choose his favorite.
여러분들은 올드보이를 꼽으실 수도 있고 흥행의 성공 여부를 떠나서 어느 어떤 작품이든지 간에 제가 출연한 작품들은 다 심사숙고 끝에 결정을 내린 것이고 그리고 다 애정을 합니다.
As one of the slogans chosen for this year's festival was Cinema Plus to highlight the rapidly changing Korean film industry, we asked him what he thought was the reason behind its growing popularity abroad.
제 느낌상으로는 다양성이라고 생각해요. 창작 욕구가. 그동안 물밑에 있었던 예술가들이 그냥 막 그 창작 욕구가 분출을 한 거죠. 그런 점들이 아마 외국 관객분들이나 외국 영화인들이 높게 평가하는 것이 아닐까 이렇게 생각합니다.
And now that the Korean film industry has begun to move past the pandemic, he's optimistic about its future.
기지개를 다시 한번 풀 때가 된 것 같아요. 그렇기 때문에 뭐 저 개인에 대한 어떤 그런 것보다도 한국 콘텐츠에 대해서 드라마나 영화나 모든 그런 콘텐츠에 대해서 더 많은 관심을 가져주셨으면 하는.
Both the exhibition and the film festival will be held until July 9th, providing a chance for people to explore both the person and the films that represent Korean cinema. 이수진, 아리랑 뉴스.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. At least 9 people have been killed and around 100 wounded in a major operation by Israeli forces in the West Bank's Jenin refugee camp. Launched on Monday local time, the operation has seen gunfire exchanges between Israeli forces and Palestinian militants. Dubbed Operation Home and Garden, the raid has been described as the biggest military operation on the camp since 2002. The Israel Defense Forces have called it a, quote, extensive counterterrorism effort targeting terrorist infrastructure. Palestinians have called the operation a war crime. Israel has launched at least 10 airstrikes and at one point deployed around 2,000 soldiers. We shift over to Peru now. Local authorities in the southern region of Moquegua are set to declare an emergency in the next few days amid continued spewing of ash from the nearby Ubinas volcano. This is according to Peru's Prime Minister on Monday, who added that the order will provide necessary prevention measures to keep the region's 2,000 residents safe. The announcement comes a day after the National Institute of Civil Defense raised the area's status alert to orange, the second highest level on its 4-tier scale. It came after the volcano showed an ash spew reaching above 1,700 meters. The United Kingdom's Meteorological Office has confirmed that the country experienced its hottest June since data collection started in 1884. The Met Office said that June's average temperature came to 15.8 degrees Celsius. It exceeded the previous highest average, recorded in 1940 and 1976, by 0.9 degrees. According to scientists, the new record high was twice as likely to occur as it was in 1940 due to climate change. The record is part of a general warming trend in June, as the global mean temperature in the first 11 days of June was more than 1.5 degrees higher than pre-industrial levels. And finally, France's last surviving member of the D-Day landings has died. Léon Gaultier died in the early hours of Monday at his home in the French coastal town of Ouistreham, aged 100. Gaultier was part of the 177 French Green Berets who landed on the beaches of Normandy on June 6, 1944. His group were the only French soldiers to storm the beaches in a unit known as the Kiefer Commandos. The unit lost over half its men during the battle for Normandy. Born in Rennes, Gaultier was too young to join the French army when the Second World War started and enlisted with its navy instead. When Hitler occupied France, Gaultier escaped to Britain and joined the Free France movement. Matthew Ashley, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. After yesterday's scorcher, we need to brace ourselves for downpours again. Until tomorrow morning, the capital, Chungcheong, Namdo, and Jeju could see more than 150 millimeters, and Chungcheong-Bukdo could see more than 120 millimeters. Now, rain could pour down 30 to 60 millimeters an hour from tonight into tomorrow at dawn, along with thunder and lightning. Now, the capital experienced the hottest day of the season so far, with the mercury reaching close to 35 degrees yesterday afternoon, and strong sunshine was no help. But today's rain brings relief from the intense heat wave, with most regions seeing highs going down 3 to 5 degrees lower than yesterday. Well, not surprisingly, Seoul had a tropical night with temperatures remaining above 25 degrees throughout the night. And this afternoon, most of the central regions are seeing highs in the upper 20s. Now, rain should let up by tomorrow morning. After a short break, rain makes its return at the end of the week to certain parts of the country. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the day.